I don't know, all things technology and like social media shit.
Hi, you have an expert in the space, but I'm too busy.
Yeah. How did you, well, I suppose it's just probably a slow process of accumulation, I would imagine. Yeah.
We're live, Nicholas.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, guys. We're a little bit late. We had some really urgent news to talk about. Not really, just some questions, and I hope we got it sorted out. But there we go. The tweets have been twatted, and the twats have been tweeted. And how you guys feeling, GP? You're like we're watching paint dry. Womp womp womp.
Yeah, it's it's brutal, man. There's so many, obviously, if you're a chartist or a technician, you're looking at these charts and you're like, oh my gosh, these are all so pretty and so ready to go. And then day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out, we just keep banging up and down, but not actually going anywhere. So
Just keep not
um,
going.
I'm hoping the release is earlier, but if not, it's going to be elections. Once election uncertainty passes, this roars out. I really don't want to go another 7, 8 weeks like this, but it's highly possible that we do nothing and more of nothing, and then a little bit of something of nothing. But other than that, it's literally like watching paint dry. Actually, paint drying might be more fun because you can get high off the fumes.
A wise man once said, "Nothing from nothing is nothing." Nick, are you not happy too? Are you just kind of
No,
bored?
no, I'm great. I'm pretty happy. I'm not doing a whole lot. There've been a few names like that I've tried to add on like morning weakness, like against like a moving average or some shit like that. Like I added to OSCR this morning.
OSCR.
I
Oscar
got,
Health.
yeah, I got a position in that one. I mean, yeah, it is
That's a pretty chart, Nick.
yeah, it's kind of high up there on a lot of the like kind of growth guys focus list. So
We'll
anyways,
check
yeah,
into the
like
nine.
I'm not doing a whole lot. I'm trying not to sell anything. I like
Yeah,
everything I'm in, and it's just kind of like a waiting game, I think, at this point.
yeah.
I think there's room to get into positions. Like if you've got cash to put to work, I think you can. There's definitely setups out there. It's just,
Waiting on them to finally do their thing, right?
yeah.
This
I
is
mean,
the
I'm
last
I'm
catalyst that we could have imagined was it came and went on Wednesday and we got it, and yet we're still not going anywhere. So bottom line for me is just
I,
now we're waiting for elections because
did you
there's
get that tweet that I sent you about Tesla when we were initially talking about the island? And I was like, oh shit, dude, like what if we just get this like Tesla just melting out of I have I struggle in markets that we like really just kind of melt like along a moving average because I'm like,
yeah.
dude, I want like a more definable pivot, but
But we're not getting that. We're not
no,
getting the 2016 to 2021 type moves. It's not the market structure or regime because it's not free money, right? So people still are hesitant to put cash to work when they get 4.5, 5% risk free, right? So that until that actually changes, um, this is kind of how we're gonna be. It's a grind, grind, grind. Though that being said, Tesla looks like it's about to take out all-time highs, in my opinion, in the next couple of months. But that's
oh
me.
yeah.
yeah.
And
Hey,
so
speaking of Tesla, that was my pick last month on our picks. But we have another week to go on our picks
I'm
of
dead. I'm down like 300
Bitcoin,
points.
ICE, and Coinbase. Yeah, GP. Barring a astronomical miracle, which would then catapult me, I'm sure. You're probably out of the running here.
Yeah.
But ice
It's
ice
known to
looks
have
good.
35% weeks, but it's not happening anytime soon.
I mean, Nick took ice at 141. It's sitting at 159. So roughly 14%. Not bad. But I bring up Bitcoin because, as you both know, I've been waiting for us to get over 62. And while we haven't broken through, uh, it's a little bit different chart than it was this time last week. We were down here somewhere when we discussed. So, Nick, I told you I'd probably have a different perspective. There's your different perspective. So, as long as we're holding that, I think we still have time to go above that into the 70s, hopefully sooner rather than later. And, GB, I hear you on the free money thing, but we have less expensive money, right? Half of is pretty good.
No,
So
I think it's great. And that's what I was like, okay, well, this will start the catalyst of people shifting allocations of their cash to equities or whatever, right? Riskier assets is ultimately the conversation. So my thought process was we wouldn't break out into OpEx because it's a quarterly OpEx. It's a very heavy institutional OpEx. It's very controlled, and we break out the week after, um, because people can now put the money to work with whatever, and then we have today, right? So I was expecting, and I was expecting it to start with Bitcoin, right? And Bitcoin started yesterday. It looked like it was ready, and then got to the 200 SMA and just went flat. And it's been flat for literally, I think, 30 hours now, 24 hours now. It's just kind of crazy.
I don't know what to make of Bitcoin. I think it's just, I mean, I kind of, it's in a 20,000, dollar range. So I think in the near term, whichever direction we kind of decide to go, I think that's the about the distance we're gonna go on the if we were to break lower, right? Like we break 50K, I would be pretty confident that that dip is going to get bought up where if we break higher, that could definitely expand out. Just is kind of what I'm thinking with Bitcoin, but I don't know. It's range bound.
I put a little money work today.
And
And this
Bitcoin?
actually the Ethereum ETF,
Oh,
ETHE, the grayscale. Took a little bit of that today. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I bought it toward its low.
Like, just, yeah. I'll keep talking about Netflix till the roosters come. But look at Netflix, right? It's literally just sitting there waiting for whatever. I don't even know what it is. I'm assuming it's earnings at this point, but it's just sitting there, right? Not breaking down. It's just not going anywhere. It's like, I think we've realized full value, so I'm just gonna hang out here, right? Like, it's literally,
Well, if it's full value, it's not going higher.
yeah, I don't think that's actually the case. I actually think it's um I think there's a lot of shareholders in this, and we've talked about this before. There's a lot of call premium selling because there isn't enough catalyst to get it higher, and it needs something to get it higher. And it could be earnings, could be something that I'm not expecting. I have no clue, but it's currently based on the news that's out there, according to the institutional holders of the stock at fair value market value or whatever it is. So they are without fail every single day coming in and selling the 710s, the 715s, the 720s, right? For a stock that has taken 3 years to get back to all-time highs, rejected it in March, and then come back and retest it again and not breaking out, and they're still selling calls against it. It just tells you the type of market we're in, right? That's just any other scenario. The second test, you guys, technicians, The second test is the most powerful test, right?
Yep. The volume is drying up a little bit there, and on the weekly, Nick, it's we're working on a 3 wet, right? 3 weeks tight,
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I like it. I, I don't know. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, but it still looks great. I,
Patience.
Yeah, but patience when you're an options trader blows.
oh, for
Um,
sure. Yeah.
I'm
It's
sorry,
All the
like
different times right now.
fine, like shares, I don't care about. They'll go do whatever they're gonna do. But as short-term traders or swing traders, this is nonsense ultimately, right? So, because even if you bought the test in if you bought the second test in the beginning, in the middle of August, you've literally been sitting 6 weeks sideways or 5 weeks sideways now. So even if you bought 2 months out, your premiums are getting destroyed.
Hot take. I don't care about shares at GPISA. All right. I just stock twatted you on that. That was too good to pass up. I got to take our little quotables and put them out there so people know.
Yeah, is there actually anything to talk about, or should we just cancel the podcast because they ain't shit doing anything?
No, I think there's plenty to talk about.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
just think you're in one of those sour moods, which usually means we're at the end of the hard work. We're almost ready to see the light because you always get in these Debbie Downer moods. It's usually when both of you get in the pissy moods that all of a sudden the next week the market just rips. And I think
Yeah.
we're getting close to that because uh you have been Debbie Downer, not Debbie Upper.
But what? Like, I can guarantee you people's portfolios have not moved more than like 3% if they're relatively passive in the last 4 months, 5 months, up and down, and not anywhere really, right? So maybe 5%, but it's been range bound. I'm not saying they're not doing well. What I'm saying is
Yeah.
let's get moving. Let's go.
Let's have a rip and some excitement. I get it,
Dude,
but
look at XBI. It's been stuck at 100 for 2 years.
it's a piece of shit. I mean, come on.
Look at this. But I
Hey,
believe I'm
speaking of
surprised
not
Duzio
pieces of
hasn't
shit,
gotten tired of talking about this.
I'm totally changing us off this. Apple, like last Friday, I was a little upset at StockTwits actually because not only did they pin a twat or whatever they call it at the start of the Apple channel, they also felt like as market was closing that is Tim Apple cooked? And like I mean, I know that Apple is down, but come on, give me a break. Is Tim Apple cooked? Is this an hourly head and shoulders that we have to worry about? Yes, the closing sucked on Friday, but are we overreacting about Apple up here at all-time highs, saying that they're cooked? Like, are you guys worried about Apple? I know we're not the biggest.
no,
I don't think any of us are Apple holders anymore, right? I'm not
no,
in Apple.
I have it.
All right. Nick's got some Apple.
Yeah.
Are you heavily concerned about what's going on up here at Apple? That looks like a decent chart to me.
Yeah. Zoom out. Tell people to zoom out. I mean, you go to the weekly. Oh yeah, you're in the weekly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it looks great. I tend to ignore, so like the way I'm looking at it is just it's in a range. I kind of ignore that kind of that shakedown bar, the retest down to like 195, 200. Like as far as like where I'm drawing my range. So
Oh yeah.
I don't know. 2000, I mean I think we're on our way to 300 is kind of where I think it's gravitating
I
toward.
mean, we have discussed for I don't know how long about the megas, and yes, there might be an investment out there that is going to return more money in the short to near term than Apple may, but let's not act like we got to throw Apple out of the fucking market and act like it's not moving numbers here. Like, big deal. They released another iPhone and there's nothing really new about it. Like, people are still going to buy that shit.
There's a new button on the new one. What are you talking about? There hasn't
Well,
been a new
it's
button
for
on Apple
AI,
iPhone
Apple AI,
ever.
Apple Intelligence. Yeah, you're right.
So what I will agree with you is I'm not sure what's going on with the marketing over there at StockTwits, but I've been seeing a decent amount of cringeworthy headlines, clickbaity, so to speak, and it's disappointing, but hopefully they self-realize and they start to correct because not every movement is like as important.
Yeah, it
But
definitely feels
it's
like
Just
it's
curious
changing
on
the way the
Friday,
market.
was there a rebalancing or something that happened in
always
Apple?
it's quarterly rebalancing.
So like what the fuck? Like, anyway, I'm not picking on stock twits. I was just like, am I missing something here? Is there something that I don't understand? And even though I'm not sitting in my chair all day trading and watching the market, I still stay up on things a little bit. And I was just like, what in the hell?
No,
What are we doing?
it's not StockTwits only. There, it's what TrendSpider does. It's what a lot of these big accounts on Twitter do. They're clickbaity. They're like, oh my gosh, is this Buffett selling his like, fuck out of here, right?
It's
Like
kind of
we
like
the greatest thing about to me about StockTwits and the great people on FinTwit in general is they don't buy into these whatever these useless narratives are and actually give you a thorough analysis, right? Versus like clickbaity nonsense. And so it's unfortunate, like I said, that's the avenue they chose, and they've done that on a few things in the last couple of weeks I've seen. Um, but it's a rebalancing, right? We get these every so often. Yes, biggest rebalancing ever, no doubt about the quantity of it, but it's also OpEx, right? And it's the largest, most owned stock on the planet. No one wants to get rid of it. So if it's sitting above a big call value, which was 230 on Friday, they're going to do everything in their power to make sure it doesn't close above 230 and lose their shares, right? There's a lot of nuances to the
Hi,
conversation.
Jason's kids. We're sorry that my language is sometimes colorful. He had to tell them earmuffs for our pod. That's okay. Hey, Randy had a question. What do you guys think of the whole iron and cores energy plays? Iron, there's iron, the weekly chart, and there's cores. Oh, cores is yeah. I think didn't you mention cores last week, Nick?
I might have.
Because that chart looks awful rippy familiar.
Yeah, I mean I'm in it. I told Randy I was in it, but
Yeah,
I
Course
don't
looks
is
good.
it
It's got
it's
it's the new
going.
IPO chart, so those
So
have actually
GP
been
hates it.
breaking out.
Oh, yes, that is you. Sorry, Nick. I saw Jason around. I thought that might have been him being the person who said he owned it. But yeah, I mean, I think it looks good. I don't know what I can tell you that you don't know already. It's Iron there, bags. Uh I think Coors looks much better than Iris Energy. I don't know. I'm snake bit on energy, so don't take my word for it.
what did you say about energy? Your what?
Iron. I'm snake bit. I can't invest in energy because I can't figure it out. The chart
Yeah,
doesn't work.
I don't like okay, so I got a question for you. So I watched Duzio and frickin' MBG literally bark and argue with each other over IBB and XLE every fucking day. And I don't understand one, why they can't both rise together. And two, if we're in a period like I'm sorry, like we're like inflation's going to the frickin' moon. Like I think everything is gonna go. Like everything has got to get more expensive. So why wouldn't they both, you understand what I'm saying? Like why wouldn't they both run?
Because the XLE monthly time frame is breaking down, even though it's not broken down in price. I think that's Duzio is pretty technical when it comes to this stuff. You
Sure.
have a monthly MACD cross down while it's distributing. You have a retest of the monthly MACD, which got rejected.
Oh, all right.
I
Right. So
think I think
if you start
MBG
at the
and
largest time
Duzio.
frame, XLE looks like a short, yet it refuses to die, even though oil keeps dying. So it's good to note that it refuses to die, but if it dies, look at Oxy.
Sure.
There was a
Yeah.
Buffett wall, and that died too. So just give it time.
I think MBG and Duzio just like to troll each other.
Oh, for
Honestly,
sure. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, for sure. I think the XLE, like the weekly chart, like I think it looks good, but I don't know.
But I start from the highest time frame, right? So if the
Yeah, for
highest
sure.
time frame doesn't look good to me, then the other ones are all mean reversion moves, right? Ultimately.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
like crowd is another one. Crowd has had a good couple of weeks. But crowd has had a good couple of weeks, but it can't get past the 50% retrace. And on a golden upgrade, all this stuff, everyone thinks is, but their problems still exist, right? They still shut down the country for an entire week. People don't forget that. So people will be looking to swap out of CrowdStrike and into other platforms, right? So you have the mean reversion trades, but on a monthly, you have the MACD, which is about to break down. You have the 50% retracement rejecting it back to back months. So yeah, I'm glad you're happy that it's moved back up, but I think this is the calm before the storm.
The calm before the storm.
280 as far as CrowdStrike goes, I think 285 is the level to watch. If it can hold 285, I think it's gonna head back to highs.
It's
If it
possible. It has done that in the past before. I'm not saying it hasn't, but right now, to
Sure.
me, it looks like mean reversion. If it's more than that, then we'll assess it. The month hasn't closed yet, so maybe the month closes above the 50% retrace, and what I'm saying right now is completely invalid.
Maybe that's the beauty of we'll find out. We speaking of, we got to find out. With our picks coming up, that also means quarterly cookie update. We can talk later about what day makes sense for us to do that. But Cookie has left the stock twat, so it'd just be interesting to hear what he might have to say about all this. So everybody stay tuned. This is a teaser. We'll try to get Cookie on in an upcoming pod.
Yeah, I
GP,
haven't seen him post at all. He's left completely.
yeah, he's left stock twits. I haven't seen him post on Twitter either.
Yeah.
So I'll reach out. I'll reach out to our lovingly blue monster and see what's up. But GP, back to crowd. Do you just dislike cybersecurity because before crowd fell, you didn't like Palo Alto?
Because technically it looked not great. And then these are all kind of culty stocks and they returned back, but technically they didn't look great. They're Pelosi stocks, right? So
Well, why don't you want to go with the greatest investor of a generation?
I I
uh,
I get it. And so it looked like it was gonna break down. It didn't break down. So thesis was wrong. And that happens
Oh yeah,
9 out of 10 times a day. So
no, I'm not blaming you for being wrong, and I'm not throwing being wrong in your face. I was just asking if there was something that you didn't like about the sector, or it's just these two particular stocks that lead the space.
it's just the technical when you have that kind of blowout volume after being at all-time highs, you tend to have a mean reversion because most of the sellers are gone, but then it reverts back to normal. At least normal stocks do. Palo Alto has not. CrowdStrike is probably going to be in the Palo Alto camp, right? But to me, they look like really low volume melt ups, which ultimately can do a lot of bull stuff to the long side. But when you actually have shit hit the fan, those are the ones that are going to get smoked,
Okay.
right? Like there's normal bases that things build from. There's normal things that happen in technical charts that I pay attention to, and technicals aren't always right, but it's not a sector issue. I think sector wise it's fine, but you tend to see continuation moves in the direction of the initial trend break, and instead it just goes the other way. So
Okay. I was just making sure
yeah,
because we both hate energy, and I was just seeing if it was a sector thing and not a technical thing, because sometimes we can, and I'm not saying this as a derogatory, right? Like, I don't trade energy. I hate energy because I have had piss poor luck trading energy, right?
yeah,
So
it's not
it's a me
technical.
thing.
It's not technical at all, right? So that's the same. Like I was applying technical analysis to energy, and I was getting a little bit of wins and a little bit of losses, a little bit of wins, and it was more of a mind fuck than anything else. And I was just like, I'm done. I know why commodities suck. I don't want to do this anymore.
I pulled up the NVDA chart because you mentioned Nancy stocks, and
I just tweeted that. I love NVIDIA.
yeah, I think it looks really good, Nick.
It's so
And
tight right here too. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's itching for a move, it looks like to me, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Nick? Nick knows what I'm saying.
Yeah. Do you think that Nv- I've been like trying to think in my head about NVIDIA and the SMH in general and kind of where everything is at within the SMH. Like I'm trying to like ask myself, like, do I think NVIDIA like here, like let's say we break out, first I want to see us above 120. If we break to 120, then I think we're going to break the trend line, which has a bigger implication, implying a bigger breakout. Um, but versus like the other names that probably could play catch up, would you rather be in something like okay, sorry, let's say you don't have any SMH names currently. Are you looking at more like, I don't
This
know,
is a great question. I know where you're going with this. I'm sorry for
yeah,
interrupting.
like I'm not saying that like because the SMH and the rest of the semis can move and play catch up while NVIDIA just kind of melts higher or continues
Yep,
is.
you're not wrong, sir.
Does NVIDIA not look like SMCI and the other names before they fell, like a descending triangle? And right, like if you go to
So
the
you're
daily, it
talking
looks
about
like
this area of SMCI, and we're talking
yeah,
about the current area of
no,
NVIDIA.
yeah,
Well, let's just pull up the old picture in a picture here and see what it looks like together. How about that?
It does to me, but I think NVIDIA has a much larger floor underneath it. Like I think you buy NVIDIA 100 all day, every fucking day.
yeah. I'm just thinking it needs to flush. I don't think it's going to behave like SMCI because that's not the same, not even the same universe. But I wouldn't. There was a lot of cocky buyers in August 2nd to August 5th. He's like, "Oh, you're not buying NVIDIA 90,
Sure.
93." It was a no-brainer. And see, look, I got 30%, 35%. You guys are idiots. So I feel like those people need to be flushed. And that is
I,
more of a technical conversation, but like I'm done looking at NVIDIA from a trading perspective in general.
I see what you're saying. Like you're pointing out this structure right here versus
Yeah.
the current structure. There's some similarities. Um, but I
And
don't
and
know.
Algo looked the same. Lam Research looked the same. All the AI names look the same, minus AMD and Intel, because those just look like garbage from the beginning.
Great question. I wish I could look into my crystal ball and say, yes, you're absolutely right, or no, you are 100% wrong. I don't know. I think it's compelling. I always like seeing them play out to the end of a wedge. And right now I've got to give the onus, right? The reasonable doubt, the love to NVIDIA. It has chugged right along and done its thing. SMCI, who else did you say? Lamb, LRCX?
A lot of the AI names, right? Broadcom,
Not quite.
ARM,
AVGO.
Taiwan Semiconductor.
I mean, AVGO is the antithesis of that, I believe.
It looked like it was
AVGO,
going to, but it didn't, right? So like
yep.
it did have the flush down.
Yep, it's the opposite of what you're saying. See, that's the structure, and then it broke out.
Yeah.
Or well, it hasn't broken out, but it's broken the downward trend that was in, right?
Yeah, and so I would assume NVIDIA looks similar to this versus SMCI. But
So we
my whole
don't
thing
have
is
earnings or anything coming up for them for quite a while.
they had monster flow for the last couple of weeks in like October 4th for some reason. So I'm assuming there's some kind of conference or something going on around there. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's a monster making company. I wouldn't be surprised with the melt up conversation. But the moves where you're getting like I don't know, like the 10, 11, 12% days. I don't
Yeah,
know if those are going to be back in the same kind of conversation.
right. I think what is interesting to me was what Nick was asking of, is it time to maybe pick at some laggards? And I actually asked myself this the other day, Nick. I was contemplating with the theory of or the rumor of Qualcomm potentially buying Intel. I've liked Qualcomm for a while, and I've hated Intel for a while, and they're kind of doing the opposite thing right now. On the news of the buyout, that spiked pretty significantly for Intel. But Qualcomm, not here, but Qualcomm might be a pretty decent name to pick at, because if that were to happen, it might not show appreciation immediately, Nick. But
Sure.
that would make Qualcomm a very formidable force, I feel like, to the AMDs of the world. And you know how much I love AMD. So that was kind of what I was thinking of. Can some of the laggards catch up? I mean, we can talk about other. I mean, Marvell has been doing nothing. Like, it's so tight. Look how many tight weeks. I mean, if you take out that dip right there,
Jeez. Yeah.
look at that range. I mean, eventually it's got to break one way or the other. You can talk about the AVGOs, and AVGO looks good. Broadcom looks pretty good. We just charted that one. Your LRCX, Nick, right? Might be, it
What I
ran a
like,
little hot up
what I
here,
like,
right? So it might be consolidating down here. It could be a bear flag. I don't know. But I had the same idea as you, Nick. Is it time to maybe pick at some of the laggards to see if there's some upside?
yeah,
It's worth the shot, right? Because it's been such a strong trend. So let the trend prove you otherwise.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is this money is going into software names, right? So I think we're potentially starting the consumer side of AI.
IGV.
Yeah. So this is where I think the money is actually going. You can see it over the last couple of weeks. They've been selling the crap out of puts and in names like MongoDB, I think
DevDog.
Adobe. Yeah, there's been quite a few CRM. Um,
ooh, Net's looking good here.
Net, yeah. So I think you're seeing money rotation out of AI, like the hardware side, and now you're going to see some of the. It's not going to be in 1 week, so it's going to be over the next 6 months, right, or over the next 3 months that the IGB space starts outperforming the chip space, which doesn't mean the chips have to go down. They can just be a grind.
Right.
Right. And
Yes.
I think I talked about this, which is the comparison of NVIDIA and Tesla, right? They've been pair trades for quite a few years now. And so you can see the outperformance that Tesla continues to put in since the bottom in April versus the NVIDIA kind of topping point around that same time, right? Isn't that when they split, or like a month after that? When did
I think so.
NVIDIA split?
That was in. Oh yeah, when was that? Was that?
Yeah, so NVIDIA announced its split at the end of May and then split in June. So I'm not saying NVIDIA is going to go down. What I'm saying is the outperformance is going to exist in other kind of sectors, right? And that sector, my personal opinion, is how AI now impacts consumers, right? And you can see since the market bottomed in April 19, 2024, Tesla has outperformed almost every stock in the stock market. Right? Like Tesla's up from 138 to 250. That's what, a nearly 60% move, 70% move.
That is a 78% move.
78% move since the market's all bottomed with Tesla on April 19th. I think you can do the same for Apple too, right? Apple's also AI consumer forming.
Yep.
See how Apple's performed since that April 19th bottom. I'm pretty sure it's outperforming the Qs as well.
It is roughly 37.7%.
Which is outperforming the Qs, right?
Yes, it is.
So, and what's NVIDIA done since April 19th?
Hang on, I'm pulling up the Qs. The Qs are up 16.5%. Sorry, I think I pulled the wrong Apple number. It should be up more than that. Yeah, Apple's up. Yeah, no, 37.7. That was right.
Yeah. And what's NVIDIA since that bottom?
$60. 55.
55%. Okay.
Yeah. To today.
Yeah. So trends change over time, right? They're not going to be able to pare down from one to the other, but it's just okay, so NVIDIA is actually outperforming Apple. That's a surprise. But yeah.
I don't think the part, like I was saying, I don't think the party's over necessarily.
No, I don't think so either.
I just don't think we're gonna get these types of moves of 28% and 24% in consecutive months. You know, I think it's realistic to be in the 10% range and not the 25% range. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Back to net. I really like net, Nick, and I think to your point, GP, something that I hadn't thought of is software with AI. Companies like Cloudflare will benefit so greatly. That's one of the reasons why I've liked SentinelOne for so long in the cybersecurity space, is because they already have they're a born of AI company basically.
Yep.
They're doing a lot of the work that takes manpower already by the AI, right? And a company like Cloudflare, I'm sure they're already doing things. I think that's going to benefit them and unlock so much more potential and profit for them. Not necessarily saying that all of a sudden this is going to create instant layoffs and reduce headcount immediately. But I think it's going to make them a much better tool than they're already a great service and tool, in my opinion. Anyway.
Yeah.
I am long both SentinelOne and Cloudflare.
Makes sense. And it makes sense that the money starts rotating into the bigger winners of a mass scale production of all this stuff, right? first you reward the ones who are building your foundation, and then you reward the ones that are implementing tools around the foundation.
Yes.
So like if you think about long-term picture, there was a lot of tech companies that did really well when the internet first came out in the 1970s, 1980s, companies like IBM, et cetera, right? And then it took another 20 something years to get to the dot-com where the consumer side. So we're obviously accelerating in the technology side. I think Cookie's talked about it quite a few times, which is you're in the S curve, right? And it starts to accelerate at the pace, but we're kind of at that pace where the 24-year mark is kicking in for
Yep.
the consumer side of the next level.
Hey Nick, one thing that just plopped into my brain. We've often talked about Amazon and Amazon Web Services, but I don't hear mentioned specifically across FinTwit about how AI could take advantage of AWS. And that's a whole different unlocking of power. I mean, I think when I hear people talk about AI and Amazon, it's like, what are you getting? How is it helping you buy or fulfill maybe on Amazon.com? But AWS could be a pent up beast inside, in my personal opinion, it is inside of Amazon. What's your thoughts about Amazon right now?
I mean, I think Amazon's a beast. And like I think that I don't think it has anywhere to go, but I mean, I hate to say it about all the kind of FANG stocks, but like I think that they're all set to go. Amazon, GP, have you
You
talked?
said all the FANG stocks?
I mean, I think they all look great. Tell me one that doesn't.
Google,
I mean,
Microsoft.
I thought
Netflix.
Microsoft put in a nice wick today. Off the today.
Microsoft is fine. It just doesn't look ready to go. You know what I mean?
No, I think Google looks
Yeah,
okay.
fair,
It's not
fair,
the
fair.
worst. I had to figure out how I could throw in a Netflix dig somehow. GP.
It's definitely not ready to go. We all know this. I can only talk about it and scream about it for so long. So I would love if the government would just come in and split Amazon, honestly, and
Sure.
unlock the value of what Amazon actually holds under its coffers. Their AWS piece, if it was standalone, would be valued so much higher than it actually
Hypothetically,
is.
this is for both of you. And Nick, I want to hear
Yeah.
from you first. Hypothetically, the government does break up Amazon. And I guess, holders of Amazon will get a piece of AWS if that split happens, that breakup happens. Would you leave the retail store and go all in AWS if that was an option to you?
Do you and then go all in?
Well, let's just say you're a shareholder of Amazon, right?
Sure, sure, sure.
And the government breaks it up and AWS is a spin-off company. Would you rather hold Amazon, the parent company, or would you rather own AWS?
I'm gonna go with the parent company.
Okay.
Just
I haven't given this any thought, so I don't know. I just
yeah.
So if you want an example, your most recent best example is GE. And so you want to own it all, but the parent company is the one that benefits the most. Look at GE versus GE Healthcare, right? GE and GEHC,
Yeah, HC.
right? So GEHC has done well, but GE continues to own a portion of this, right? So they get all the unlocking of the value while these individual stocks try to figure it out now, right? G is what, 5x, 6x since the bottoms?
I'm
Yeah.
looking.
What a
Yeah,
freaking
GE is up 200, almost 300%, and GE Healthcare is up 66%.
Yeah. So I would stick to the parent because the parent gets the benefits of all the companies in, but you would want to take some of the allocation and put it into the other companies too, because if those companies execute phenomenally over the next 5 to 10 years, they'll also grow in tremendous value. But if they grow in value, so will the parent company, right? So you can stick with the parent company and it'll be fine too, but you would spread, I
In
would spread those
fairness,
coffers around.
Amazon Web Services is not GE Healthcare, right? Like, but
It
yes,
is
the
not.
parent company would benefit from Amazon Web Services, whatever they do.
Yeah. And the question is, what value that they spin off AWS at, right? Is also a big conversation. So if they come in and they already value it higher as the spinoff, then that's a bigger conversation. But if it's undervalued, then so you have to assess it when it actually happens. But if it happens,
I just noticed in the chat we had Alexander ask about ESTC Elastic, a name that's a blast from the past. I haven't thought about Elastic in a very long time. The chart doesn't look great
Yeah.
whatsoever. So I don't know. You got to,
I don't know enough about it.
yeah, it doesn't look great.
yeah, I posted a chart about this. No,
Did you post Elastic?
no. So another one.
Yeah. I'm not a buyer here, and maybe I'm wrong. If you're long, Alexander, best of luck. Not my type of thing right now. And GEV, what is GEV? GE Veron, yeah, that's a spinoff of GE. Yeah, wow, that's a big move too.
Yeah, but still the
That's
parent company.
yep, that's up 120%. That's not bad.
Yeah, so all these
Market's
guys are doing well, so the
closed.
parent company is also doing phenomenal because they have their core business that's doing well, and they're getting all the benefits of these getting unlocked.
Market just closed. The Q's up 0.12%. The SPY up 1/4%. And as you can
And
see on some of the longs there's just some odds and ends. And then where did my ETFs go? Oh no, but I deleted them somehow. That stinks.
Tesla 250.
why are we pinning on a Monday? Tesla closed exactly at 250 up to the
Yeah.
money. It's a Monday. Why are we pinning?
Maybe we don't know something. Hmm.
I so I'm in the camp because it's quarter end that we're gonna see a phenomenal week, right? That's the camp where I entered into the day, and then we got today. So we're now down minus 1 day, but I think positioning into the quarter end is pretty bad, right? So you have the combination here that we could have a pretty good tag, and my like high side big target for the SPX this week or into Monday, which is actual quarter end, was 6,000, right? So I don't know if we get it, but it was just how I was looking at charts and how we could potentially move from here because we've been consolidating for how many months now?
Forever. Randy posted IBM. Wow, IBM just keeps rocking.
All-time highs for IBM.
Yeah. IBM's been a quiet beast. It only took 27 years.
Well, no, it was the acquisition of Red Hat. It's
Yeah.
not IBM. The company is now Red Hat. They spun off the old IBM business into its own thing. Everything that is IBM now, I should say IBM now, is Red Hat.
Whatever. Rebranding is the pinnacle of all these 100-year-old companies, right? You have
Yeah,
to
no, it's part of the game. Like I'm not mad about it. I just everything that was IBM 27 years ago went with that bullshit company that they spun off.
make sense.
I shouldn't call it bullshit company. It's a legitimate company. I shouldn't call it bullshit.
Nope,
Sorry,
I work with
sorry,
IBM
Jason's
Consulting.
kids.
Yes, I work with IBM Consulting. They sucked. So too much red tape, too much bureaucracy. That's what happens when you're 100 years old.
Yes, KD is the IBM. I knew it was K something. Killanova or Kindrel. Yeah, Killanova is the Kellogg's rebrand. KD is Kindrel. And yeah, it's not. It's doing what IBM does.
Nothing.
There you go. There's the KD Kindrel. Thanks for that, Alexander.
I did not
And
know that. I appreciate
hey,
it.
Alexander, thanks for joining. I'm unsure if you're normally here with us or not, but I really appreciate all that insight that you're dropping. Kids are gone. Swear away. Fucking perfect, Jason.
So the best thing about GE, Nick, is that it finally broke a 24-year downtrend. It
Yeah.
For the first time in 24 years, it actually made a higher high. Right? So that was one of the biggest trend shifts on the planet. And so, in my opinion, GE, unless it fails that higher high again, it is an opportunity to buy almost every day. Look at that. Took 24 years to finally make a higher high. 24 years.
Do you remember talking about this back in last January?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Where we're like, it looks good, but it's still lower lows, right?
Yeah.
Lower highs, I mean.
Yeah. I think we were initially talking about it when it was in that kind of stage one base, like way back. Might have even been like January of like January of 2023. And then we were talking about it again when it kind of put in that base, like in between like 80 and 95-ish, sort of.
Yeah, yeah. And it's looked
Yeah.
monstrous in it for every moment where it's had weakness. The Bulls have stepped in and done the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest trend change you needed to notice on GE, even if you didn't notice even if you waited to the higher high. That was one of the most fundamental things that was happening is like we weren't breaking down, we were actually consolidating, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't play that well.
it's fine. There's so many stocks, dude. You're not gonna play them all well ultimately.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I mean, Roblox has been beautiful. I mean, speaking of playing them well, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times that it's tried to break this range. So I've been wrong for a while here, but I'm convinced that it's going to go one day.
Yeah. So
what about EA? Is EA gonna ever break out? Do you think EA and Roblox break out at the same time?
No, EA is dead money.
EA is
Yeah.
forever gonna be in a range, just never.
It's just dead money, dude. It's not worth in my opinion, it's not, right? In a market of stocks that have all the reasons and catalysts to go higher, EA is not in any of those catalysts.
It might. Just don't count it out.
I'm not counting it out. I'm just saying it's not in my wheelhouse of worth it.
We're talking about Electronic Arts, right?
Yeah. For stuff like that, like for people that are like getting into trading or investing, like the best thing about being, I think, in my opinion, about being a retail trader is, I think, unless you're an options trader, for us pure equity guys, like time is on our side, and like Electronic Arts, like fuck it, like I can set an alert at what I don't know, let's just say 150, and I can set an alert at 100 and never look at it again and wait for those fucking alerts to go off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm kind of just yapping into the void, not necessarily at you. But
Waiting is the hardest part.
yeah.
Waiting and selling are the hardest two things to do. Maybe selling and then waiting. Alexander brought up Take Two. I mean, yeah, when is it going to go? I don't know.
When is anything going to go? We don't know.
When is anything going to go? After the election, according to GP.
Yeah.
Mr. Wet Blanket over here.
So what I will say is I've been surprised and obviously wrong about IPOs. a predominant amount of IPOs that came out between 2019 and 2021 have not done really well, but the ones that have come out in the last 2 or 3 years are doing pretty damn well. I posted a list on Friday, but look at
On Twitter or on StockTwits?
on StockTwits, right? So AppLovin is one of them. APP.
Yep.
Freaking beast.
Monster. If you go down to the monthly, you can see it on the monthly, and it just keeps getting better. It's just look at the amount of volume that's here, right? That's
You
just
could have had this for $10.
yeah, or even at 33 or 36 when I first posted it, right? And it's
Or
actually
25. I mean, you could there's all these buying opportunities in this
Yeah.
chart.
So the other one in all this space is Duolingo. These are all these newer IPOs that are just crushing it. If you look on the monthly, you can see it on a lot of these names, lots of accumulation, right? And IoT is another one,
IoT, yeah.
right?
You're still long IoT, right, Nick?
No,
No?
I pikered out of it. Yeah.
I don't know. He got
on the
out.
monthly, you can see it.
It's okay.
I will be in it again.
The other one that hasn't happened yet, but I think it's close. We've talked about it a few times over the last couple of weeks is Monday.com. Mandy.
Mandy and Randy.
All right, look, the monthly. Look at this accumulation that's happening on the monthly. It's just setting up stuff, right? Like it's there. Obviously Palantir, we've talked about a bunch. The monthly looked phenomenal in terms of accumulation. Quarterly looked even better in all these names.
Yeah, when I sold out of IoT, I threw that capital at both Palantir and Copang.
Yeah. And so in the same bucket is obviously Coin.
Not Copang, I'm sorry.
Whoa.
See, I don't know why I said that. CPNG, not Copang.
CPNG. Yeah. That looks better, but it's not the heavy accumulation from the other ones, but it's still solid accumulation. The other one is Coin that falls into this category as well. Unfortunately, it's not behaving well. But
Coin
on
or
the monthly, lots of buying, lots of accumulation, very little selling as it consolidates. But these newer IPOs that came out like end of 2021, early 2022, looks like they're getting the accumulation, which means they're probably going to be in the new set of winners over the next decade, right?
Yes.
Remember,
that's exactly. Yes.
Remember when MongoDB first came out and ServiceNow and all those other names, right? They had similar charts when they first started, and they ended up being ultimate big winners.
No whammies, big winners.
When we've talked about like new money or money rotating or any of those kind of conversations we've had recently, that's kind of the thing that has been in the back of my mind. Like I think money is gonna. I don't think it's over for the mega caps, but like I think that's what the market's ultimately trying to figure out is what is going to be the next kind of monster leaders. And I think you kind of nail it on the head right there with like the accumulation that you're seeing is showing us where the money is going to go and what these next leaders monsters are going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's focused on Square, PayPal,
the usual suspects.
Right? These stocks are, for the time being at least, they're done. There's no, even after being destroyed, there is no accumulation in Square. Like literally none. Look at where all the accumulation was when it first broke out, right? So I don't think it's done long term, but for the short term, the next medium term,
Of the two, PayPal looks better, in my opinion.
Still no real accumulation, right? It's been a lot of distribution. I would have liked to see at least one big spike up in terms of a volume candle to say, hey, we bulls are here. We're paying attention. We're just not ready yet, right?
All right, guys, I got 2 minutes. I gotta get to a Pee Wee football game. Jason asked about toast, Nick. Is it breaking out? What's up
Yeah,
with your toast?
it didn't have the greatest close. I wouldn't somebody asked, I don't know if that was him, but somebody had asked me on Twitter about it if today would have been considered a failed breakout. If you're trading on the daily time frame, yeah, just because we didn't get a close outside of the range, but if you zoom out to the weekly, I think the more important breakout was the breakout above 25 and the start of this kind of like little move that we're on. Like that's a massive igniting bar. The volume's not huge on it, but it's a wide range bar. So I own Toast, and as long as it stays above 24 or 25, I'll continue to remain in it. If it takes out 25, I'll get nervous. 24, I'm out of it for the time being. I'll throw my money somewhere else. So I like it. I think it's getting ready to go stage 2. That's
All
kind of
right,
what
guys. My little middle linebacker and running back are chomping at the bit. So
Guys, have fun.
Yeah.
I'll send
Enjoy.
you videos. I'm sure it'll be awesome.
See you guys.
Yeah.